Alright, this is going to be my rankings of the starting point guards at the end of the 2024 NBA season. So let's get started. At number 30, we have Vasily Micic of the Charlotte Hornets. He was on OKC for most of this season. Got traded to Charlotte for Gordon Hayward and ended up starting there. And not the best starter in this league. He only averaged 7 points, 4 assists, on decent efficiency, but yeah, not much to say. Only 28% on three is not a great clip for your starting point guard for sure. He definitely could get better. He's only, I believe this is like his first year in the NBA, but he is a fairly old rookie, so not sure how much improvement he's going to have. But I feel like he could be a decent role player in the league, but certainly not somebody you want as your starting point guard. Number 29 is going to be Keontae George. He was a good young point guard here for the Utah Jazz. He averaged about 13 points and 4 assists, but he was very inefficient at 39% from the field. 33% on three is not bad, but he got to get better from the field. Only shooting 46% on his 2-point attempts is not a great look. But he's still young. He has plenty of potential, I feel like, to be probably a very serviceable starting point guard in this league. Probably no all-star in his future, but could very much be a consistent starting point guard in this league. Number 28 is going to be Scoot Henderson. Very underwhelming rookie season compared to where he was, projected to do. I had him at number 19 coming in because I thought it was going to be pretty good. He had some injuries and was not a very great player at all, really. 14 points, 5 assists, 3 rebounds is pretty good, but 39% from the field and 33% on three is not very good. Similar numbers to Keontae George. Just did it in a little bit more points and better all-around players, slightly than Keontae George, but still definitely feel like Scoot Henderson has a good amount of potential to be an all-star in this league. Would like to see him get back to that or reach that potential in the next few years. Number 27 is going to be Dennis Schroeder. He was solid, averaging 14 points on solid efficiency, 44% and 38% on three, so it's Dennis Schroeder. He's a solid, serviceable starting point guard in this league. Nothing more, nothing less. He's a really good bench option. Just a serviceable starting point guard. Number 26 is Trey Jones. Coming into this, I thought he was going to be pretty solid. He was not projected to start, so that's why he is unranked. But he had a pretty solid season, averaging about 10 points, 4 boards, and 6 assists with 1 steal a game, on 50% from the field and 34% on three. So some pretty solid numbers there for him. Also, his advanced numbers are pretty good as well. It's going to carry him up here a little bit, but 26 is a pretty solid spot for him. I feel like he's going to kind of be, like a potentially like Drew Holiday type of player for a large part of his career. He's a pretty solid defender and a decent scorer and a good facilitator and rebounder as well. Next up is his brother, Tyus Jones, for the Washington Wizards. He's a much better scorer. He averaged 12 points a game, but on 49%, 41% shooting from three. So definitely more efficient player than Trey Jones. A worse defensive guy. Slightly, he's a little smaller build than Trey Jones, but still solid defense and a way better. I would say he's a better facilitator as well, but still, they're similar players. They're brothers. They grew up playing basically the same play style. I just think Tyus Jones has a couple more years experience in the NBA, and he's just a little bit better than his brother Trey. Number 24 is going to be Jalen Suggs. He's a pretty good player. He came into the season as a projected shooting guard and ended up starting majority point guard this season. He was playing really good, averaged about 12 points, 3 boards, 3 assists, 1.4 steals a game is pretty good, and he was actually really good in the playoffs for them. He shot 47% and 40% from three in the regular season, and he continued that into the playoffs to be a pretty good player in their series against the Cavaliers. Number 23 is going to be Kobe White. This feels a little bit low, but his advanced numbers are not very good. He does not do a whole lot outside of, he's a decent all-around player and a really good scorer. But he does play a lot more minutes than the average starter. He plays 36.5 minutes, where a lot of these guys around him are only playing like 27 to 30 minutes a game. So that kind of hurts Kobe White a little bit. But he still averaged 19 points, 5 boards, 5 assists on some pretty solid efficiency. It's just that he plays a lot more minutes than some of these other guys, so his numbers could be slightly inflated because of that. Number 22 is Terry Rozier. Being a starter for Miami this year, he didn't really play a whole lot for Miami, but he was still technically their starting point guard. He averaged 20 points a game this season on 6 assists and 4 boards on 44-36 splits. So definitely a really good offensive weapon. Um, that's kind of why Miami traded for him. It didn't really work out there, but overall, really good numbers here for Terry Rozier. Number 21 is going to be Emmanuel Quickly. I projected him. He was projected to come off the bench, and I had him as the top bench player headed into this season. Ended up starting, and is a pretty solid starting point guard here for the Toronto Raptors. He averaged 17 points, 5 assists, 4 boards on 43 and 40 splits. So really solid player here. Doing all that in only 29 minutes a game is kind of why he's over Terry Rozier. Even though Rozier had arguably better numbers, it's that Rozier also played 4 extra minutes a game than Emmanuel Quickly. Number 20 is going to be D'Angelo Russell. D'Lo's a solid player, obviously. He's really good in the regular season, averaging about 18 points, 6 assists, and 3 rebounds. On really good efficiency there as well, shooting 46 and 42% from the three. So really good in the regular season. He was very underwhelming in the postseason, as he usually is. So that's why he's a little bit lower than someone might think he belongs. At number 19 is going to be Darius Garland. He had a very underwhelming season compared to his previous years. This year, decent counting stats. He did have 18 points a game, 7 assists, 3 boards, 1.3 steals, but 44% and 37% is some solid numbers. But he was also significantly better than that last year. He also had a very disappointing postseason, which dropped him a few spots as well. Number 18 is going to be Mike Conley. He had a really good season for his age specifically. He's like 37 or 38 years old. He only averages about 12 points a game, but he averaged 6 assists, 3 boards, 1 steal. Also only plays 29 minutes a game, which helps his case because most of these other guys are playing a little bit more than that. And he also had a pretty solid postseason as well, which boosted him, while guys like D'Lo and Darius Garland had some pretty bad postseasons, which helped him, fall a couple spots. Number 17 is going to be Jrue Holiday. Similar numbers to Mike Conley, averaged about 12 points, 5 boards, 5 assists, close to 1 steal and 1 block a game, which is pretty good. 48 and 43 splits as well. He's really good for this Boston Celtics team. He had a pretty underwhelming postseason. So again, I kind of thought he would be a little higher on this list, but he was not the best in the postseason. I think he had like one, really good offensive performance in the finals, but other than that, not a lot of great performances hit for him in the postseason, but still a really solid point guard here, and a big reason why the Celtics ended up winning. Number 16 is going to be Fred VanVleet. He was doing really good this season in the Houston Rockets. He averaged, 18 points a game, 8 assists, 4 boards, 1.5 steals, on 42 and 39 splits. So some solid splits there, and 18 points a game and 8 assists is some really good numbers. So definitely a really good quality starting point guard who no one's going to be upset if he is a starting point guard on their team. But there's obviously a lot of better options as well. Number 15 is going to be Cade Cunningham. He averaged about 23 points, 8 assists, 4 boards on 45 and 36 splits. He also played significantly less minutes than Fred VanVleet, so that's kind of why he's above him, even though his numbers, you could argue, are slightly worse than Fred. Also, neither one of them had really good advanced numbers as well, which is pretty important in these rankings. But both are really solid players, and Cade Cunningham is a better scorer, and that's kind of what leads him over Fred VanVleet. Number 14 is going to be C.J. McCollum. He was really good this season. He was very bad in the postseason, which dropped him a couple spots probably, but he averaged 20 points, about 4 boards, and 4 assists in the regular season on 46-43 splits. So he was really good in the regular season, really struggled in the postseason, but still a really good player and really good starting point guard nonetheless. Number 13 is going to be Desmond Bane. Had him coming in as a shooting guard, ranked number 9 there, but obviously John Morant got injured, and Bane kind of took over that point guard role, and he did it pretty well. Averaged almost 24 points a game, 4 boards, over 5 assists, and 1 steal a game on 46-38 splits. He was just a really, really good player and stepped up for Memphis when they had really nobody else to step up for them. He barely even qualified for this. He only played 42 games. I only take people who played over 41 games in this season, so if you didn't play at least half the season, I'm not going to qualify you for this list, and he played 42, so barely qualifies. Number 12 is going to be Trae Young. We kind of know what Trae Young is. It kind of seems like he peaked already in his career because he's not really going to get much better than what he is. He averages, 26 and 11 and 3 boards, over a steal a game, but he did average 4.5 turnovers. Not a great look and not the most efficient. 43 and 37 are solid splits, but you would like to see him a little bit higher than that and definitely like to see him control his turnover numbers a little bit. And also, his his offensive rating is really good, but his defensive rating is really bad. Number 11 is going to be Jamal Murray. He's a really good player, 21, 6, and 4 on 48 and 43 splits. Really good season from Jamal Murray. He usually goes off in the postseason. In the first round, he was really good against the Lakers, but the second round, he was really bad against the Timberwolves, which kind of made his overall postseason numbers look pretty rough, which kind of lowers him a couple spots here, but still definitely an all-star caliber type point guard, but he's probably not going to be an all-star anytime soon just because of all the competition there is with that position. Number 10 is going to be James Harden. I was surprised to see him still this high coming into this season because, coming into the season, I thought it was going to be better, but, at the end of the season, I felt like he definitely was underwhelming and not really a top 10 player in his position anymore, but he barely still squeaks into the top 10, which is, better than I thought he was going to do. And he still put up some really good numbers: 17 points, 9 assists, 5 rebounds, 43 and 38 splits is not great. But he also stepped up big time in the playoffs when Kawhi Leonard was out. He averaged almost 27 points, I believe, or something like that in the playoffs. So it kind of looked a lot more like prime James Harden come playoff time, which boosted him up here a couple spots for sure. Number 9 is going to be De'Aaron Fox. I was thinking he was potentially going to be an all-star caliber type player this year. He was not. But he still averaged really good numbers: 27, 5, and 6 assists a game on 47 and 37 splits. So really good numbers, really good defensive numbers as well. 114 defensive rating and 113 offensive rating are some pretty solid numbers there. And he averaged, 1.5 steals a game. Number 8 is going to be Tyrese Maxey. Had him coming in at number 15. He took a much bigger leap than I thought he was going to be. He looked a lot better, obviously, without James Harden than he did last year with James Harden because he was given kind of full control over this team, which definitely was a big reason of why he surges way higher on this list than I thought he was going to be because, obviously, at the beginning of the season, they still had James Harden on the team. But he averaged 26 points and 6 assists a game and averaged over 33 points, I believe, in the postseason. Number 7 is going to be Tyrese Halliburton. At the beginning of the season, he looked like a top 5 point guard in the league for about the first half of the season until he got injured. Then it was, a lot worse in the second half, but he kind of got back up to what he was doing in the first half come playoff time. So that kind of helped boost him back up here to the top 7. He averaged 20 points, 11 assists, 4 boards on 48-36 splits, and he was really productive in the playoffs as well. Going to the Eastern Conference Finals definitely helps you boost yourself up a little bit. Number 6 is going to be Damian Lillard. A little bit lower than I thought he was going to be, but he definitely had an underwhelming season this year compared to previous years. I don't think anyone's going to really debate that. He averaged 24, 7, and 4, but only on 42 and 35 split. It's usually around 47, 37. 42 and 38 is not a great look for Damian Lillard, but obviously still one of the better point guards in the league, and he was really good in the postseason as well. Number 5 is going to be Stephen Curry. Stephen Curry, a lot lower than I thought it was going to be. He came in the league in the season, projected to start at shooting guard because Chris Paul was slated to start at point guard, but that didn't work out very well. So Curry, now as a point guard, which is probably the position with the most top-heavy talent. So even though he's number 5 here, he's still really, really good NBA player and probably certainly a top 20 NBA player. I'm not going to spoil my list too much, but he's very easily a top 20 NBA player. But only being the number 5th player at his own position is certainly not something I predicted at the start of this season. But 26, 5, and 5, on 45 and 41 split are some really, really good numbers. There's just a lot of competition up here at point guards. Given here at number 4, you got a guy like Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson was amazing this season. He averaged 29, 7, and about 4 on 48 and 40 splits, and he averaged like 34 plus points a game in the postseason. Stephen Curry did not make the playoffs. So he did not have the playoffs to kind of help boost him up a couple spots. Whereas a guy like Jalen Brunson, probably would have been below Curry if it wasn't for his insane playoff performance. Number 3 is going to be Devin Booker. Again, he was projected to be a shooting guard, but he ended up being the point guard, and Bradley Beal kind of ended up being the shooting guard. So, that also kind of makes this position just even more stacked. Devin Booker got 27, 7, and 5, shooting 49, 36% from the 3. So, obviously, some really good numbers here from Devin Booker. He was really, really good in the playoffs as well. Kind of like you would expect a guy like Devin Booker to be good in the playoffs, obviously. He's probably top 10 player-ish in the league, and he's only the 3rd best player in his own position. Number 2 here is going to be Luka Doncic. So this is going to be a big debate, I feel like, between these top 2 point guards, if you can already kind of predict who the other one's going to be. But at number 2, Luka Doncic, really, really good this year. 34 and 10 assists and 9 boards, almost a 34-point triple-double. He played almost 38 minutes a game, though, which does kind of hurt him a little bit, considering that's the most minutes out of any starting point guard, and, the most out of any of these top 10 point guards here, about 2 to 3 minutes. Kind of hurts him there a little bit, but still some really, really good numbers. He did really good in the playoffs, but he still had a worse postseason this year than I think he's had in any other playoff, so that definitely kind of hurts him a little bit, even though by any normal NBA players, any other normal superstar, standards, he still had a really good postseason. By Luka postseason standards, he kind of had an underwhelming one. Number 1 is going to be Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. So this is debatable between these two guys. 100%. Shai averaged 30.6 boards, about 6 assists as well. Shooting 54 and 35% from the field. He was also really, really good in the postseason. Luka has better counting stats. Shai has way better defensive stats. And a lot of those aren't necessarily counted in the stat sheet. So I think Shai is slightly better than Luka because of what he brings to the defensive side of the ball, even though Luka, brings more to the offensive side of the ball than Shai does. But that is going to be it. Oh, shoot. Sorry, never mind. We do got to go over the missing players from this list compared to the beginning of the season. So Ja Morant was number 7. He's been injured. LaMelo Ball was 13. He's injured. Bradley Beal was 14. He's a shooting guard. Chris Paul was 17. He got moved to the bench. Colin Sexton was 20. He's a shooting guard. Marcus Smart was 22. He was injured. Markelle Fultz was 24. He got moved to the bench. Russell Westbrook was 26. Got moved to the bench. Ben Simmons was 27. He got injured. Jeremy Sohan was 30. Got moved to power forward. And Kyle Lowry was 31. He got moved to a shooting guard. So the reason there was 31 is because I counted Ja Morant and Marcus Smart here, because Ja Morant was supposed to miss 25 games, and I thought Marcus Smart, deserved to at least be in that video still. But yeah, that is going to be it for the video. Thank you for watching. Make sure to check back later this week for my shooting guard ranking, as well as all the other ones that are going to come out after that.